Hey everybody, my name is Jerry. I'm glad you could join me. It's been a while since I made a video, but I'm back. Today we're going to talk about the 2017 through 2020 Suzuki GSX-R1000 and the 1000R. We're going to remove the front wheel and show you all the tools you're going to need to do that. We're going to take the front brake calipers off, we're going to take the front wheel sensor off, we're going to remove the axle, and I'll show you what wheel stand I'm using to make that all happen. That's all coming up right now, so here we go. Okay, let's talk about all the tools you're going to need. This is a 30mm socket. Okay, that's going to go on the axle nut. And you can see this is a breaker bar. This long bar is what is known as a breaker bar. This one happens to have a ratchet style. Okay, so 30mm, 1/2-inch drive. Okay, breaker bar. Next thing you need is 24mm hex bit. It's a big old hex bit. Okay. And I couldn't get this in the United States. I looked around, couldn't get it, so I had to order it out of England. And this is very popular for the Ducati front end axle. So we need this for the opposite side of the axle. This is for the axle nut, and this is the other side of the axle. And I have another breaker bar here. This one's not ratchet style, but it works just fine. And of course, 1/2-inch drive right there, right? Over here you got an 8mm socket, and this is for the front wheel sensor. Okay. And you got a 10mm socket, and this, I believe, yeah, is for the front fork pincher bolts. Okay, so there you go. That's pretty much all you're going to need. You may need a few more socket sizes for the brake calipers, but I'll get into that when we get to that point. All right. Now the wheel stand I'm using is by Pitbull. They make really good wheel stands. Now I bought a cheapy Chinese made one, and I tell you what, it couldn't even lift a bike. I thought the thing was going to break, so don't make the same mistake I made. Don't go buy a cheapy Chinese knockoff. It's not going to lift these 1000cc bikes worth a damn. So I got a Pitbull, which I've used before in the past when I used to race. Really, really nice wheel stand. I got one in the back there too, okay? Alright, so there you can see how the wheel stand supports the fork, right? Nice, right? Supports it right there. And this whole piece swivels, so you can swivel any way you want. Okay, and I bought the extra long arm. I always buy the long arm because it makes it really easy for leverage. If you get the short arms like that, it's harder. For you guys who are big, strong 200-pounder guys, you're not going to care. But you know, for us lightweight guys like me, the extra long handle is really, really nice. I think they call it an extended handle. Okay, so pretty much the same thing on the other side. Great stand, super strong tubing, solid like a rock. So right here is the wheel sensor, which I already took it off. Okay, it's right behind this. So you have to first, before you put your wheel stand in there, like I have it on this side, this is on the brake side of the bike. Before you put your wheel stand right there, make sure you take your wheel sensor off. Okay. Pretty easy, it just sits in there underneath like that. Okay, and that is, I believe, the 8mm bolt I showed, socket I showed you earlier. Okay, you just pull it out and leave it off to the side. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the brake calipers here and here, 2 bolts, and pull them off and just set them aside. We're not going to disconnect the brake lines or anything like that. And let me just show you these are their official name. I don't remember exactly their official names, but I call them axle pincher bolts. I think it's what they really are called. Okay, these right here, these are, I believe, 10mm. Okay. Now they say to loosen the axle nut first before you loosen these. But I loosen these first. It doesn't really, you know, the reason why they don't want you to loosen these first is because when you go to turn this axle nut, the whole axle may spin if you've already loosened these. Okay, but like I said earlier when I showed you the tools, I just use 30mm on one side of the breaker bar, and on the other side of the bike I use a 24mm hex bit to take care of that, and then the axle doesn't move because you're working both sides at the same time. Okay, so that's 30. I already have it loose, you can see, but this is a 30mm. The 24mm hex bit goes in there, right? Goes right in there. 24mm Ducati hex bit fits Suzuki, guys. Look at that, perfect fit. Okay, 1/2 inch drive. You should put your breaker bar right in there on this side, okay? There you go. If you're in the US and you don't want to wait for the, I think it cost me under 20 bucks to get this from the UK. Okay, and of course I had to wait a week, about 2 weeks to get it. But if you don't want to wait, you could, well, maybe not. I used to use the back side of a spark plug socket, but this one's too big of a diameter. I couldn't get it to work. So there you go. That's how that fits right in there, right? Breaker bar goes in there, boom, ready to go. You'd be seeing something like that, okay? Easy peasy, 1, 2, 3. It's already loose. Okay, I already loosened this up earlier, but I just wanted to show you guys. Okay, so that's that one. And then on this side is the 30mm with also a breaker bar, ratchet style breaker bar. Okay, and you can see it fits right on there, right? Nice. 30mm ratchet style. I already loosened this up too on this side. Obviously I worked both sides at the same time. Okay, so there you go. Nice, nice, nice. 30mm. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the brake caliper. So we got 2 bolts here and there. It's 12mm. Okay, and you can use just a regular ratchet. I'm just using my breaker bar because it just makes life really easy. Just put a little pressure on it, it's going to come right off. And there we go. Okay, easy peasy. Then you do the top one, and then I did this in another video. Basically, once you take this whole rotor off, just slides out like that. I just set it on top of a toolbox or something right here, so I don't have to worry about stretching the brake line, right? Just set something right here, put the brake caliper on it, makes life easy. Okay, there you go, guys. Have it off. I just throw a rag around it real quick to, you know, just so it doesn't scratch up the forks or anything. And pretty simple. There's the bolts. Then right, just set them aside. Put them in your little. I have a little bucket. Put everything in a bucket, so I don't lose all the parts, right? All the fasteners. And that's it. You know, you just set it aside. I have on top of a toolbox a little piece of wood, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. You know. Okay, on the other side of the bike, you can see I have the brake caliper off here, and again I have a rag wrapped around it. Okay, and just make real sure that your front wheel sensor wire, which I know is kind of hard to see in this video, which right here, make sure it's not, you know, getting in the way of the wheel or anything. Right. At this point, guys, a couple things I want to tell you. You should be able to carefully rotate your front wheel and not have anything stopping it. Okay. If your rotors over here are leaning up against the tire, you're going to feel it, right? So everything should be clear of the front wheel. You should be able to rotate nice and easy. Okay. Okay, you don't want your rotors leaning up. I mean, you don't want your brake calipers leaning up against your wheel or your rotors, right? Because then they're going to fall over, make a mess, and do all that and whatever. The other thing I want to mention is do not touch the brake lever at any time. Do you have the brake calipers off? Because that means you're going to pinch the brake pads together, and good luck getting them separated far enough away to put them back over top of the rotor, right? When you're done, when you get your wheel back from whoever's going to mount your tires. So anyway, if I haven't mentioned it, the reason I'm taking off my wheels is because I'm going to put new tires on. Okay, they're the new tires. Okay. Bridgestone Battle Axe S21s. This is the front, obviously this is the rear. Okay. 120/70 ZR17M. MC stands for motorcycle, obviously. Okay, and on the back I got a 190/55. Okay, so these are basically Hypersport tires. Work really good for the street. The middle of March, 80-degree day. So that's how it is here in Texas. You can bet your bottom dollar, guys, I'm gonna be riding real soon. As soon as I get this front tire mounted and balanced. Same thing with the rear. Okay. Sweet, baby, sweet. We're getting ready to pull the axle out, so I have a little 2x4, okay, it's underneath the front tire, and I just stuck a little piece of, I happen to have a piece of stainless steel laying around to make up a little bit of gap. Whatever you need to make up that gap, you want this gap to be as close as you can get it, okay, when you go take this wheel off, because you don't want the wheel to fall down, right? So that's just the way I'm doing it. Pick whatever way you want to do it to support that front wheel as you get ready to pull the axle out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to pull the axle out and see what we get. Okay. Okay, with the front axle, it's not threaded into the, you know, anywhere into the forks. And just tap on it, okay? Let's just give it a little tap, see what it does. See it moving? See the axle here is beginning to push out, right? Don't go metal to metal. You know, just a little piece of wood, and you just tap on a little piece of wood and a hammer on the other end of the wood should work fine. Okay, so next I'm just going to pull that axle out of there, and we should have a free floating wheel and just roll it on out of there. Okay, you can see that the axle's pushed out on that side. Just kind of showing you guys where we're at here. Right? Something like that. Okay, and you know, I just took a little piece of hard rubber I had laying around. Okay, and that's stiff enough. You could use the end of a broomstick, any little wood or hard plastic if you're having a hard time getting the axle out, and just tap it through the hole. So there's the axle, the wheels, you can see the wheels already kind of free floating, right? I'm just gonna pull the axle out of there nice and gentle. Kind of keep an eye on things. Might have to wiggle the wheel just a little bit here. There it goes. There you go, the axle's out. Pretty easy, right? I'm just set the axle down on something soft. I just want to make sure as I roll this wheel out that my brake calipers that I have sitting on the side aren't going to go falling. That one looks clear, and this one looks clear. Now, it could be that this the fender on the top is in the way, so what I'm going to do is pull out the little stainless steel spacer I had. I'm also going to rotate the wheel backwards as I'm pulling this on the bottom, even though you can't see it and probably can't see it. I'm pulling that piece of wood out of there and carefully let the wheel come all the way down to the ground, and I'm hoping that'll clear the fender, because I really don't want to take the fender off. It's kind of a pain in the butt to take it on and off. Okay, so let's see what we get here. Let's just keep pulling this piece of block out of here, piece of wood, keep rolling the wheel back. So I'm just pushing the wheel back as I pull the block forward. Wheel goes back, block goes towards me. I'm just holding it with one hand and pulling with the other. Just keep doing that process, and eventually the wheel's going to go down to the ground, I hope. And there we go. Let's see if it clears the fender. Sweet, baby, sweet. Here you go, guys. Front wheel removed. Okay, that's how you do it. This baby's ready to be taken to the local shop and have the new tire mount and balanced. Okay, and I'm going to put in the link a video I already did for the rear wheel, so you guys can see how to take that rear wheel off. And okay, all right, cool beans. So there's a shot of what it looks like. You know, you may not have a toolbox and a cinder block holding up your brake calipers like I do, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever method you want to use, just have those brake calipers sitting there, no stress on the brake lines. And when you get your wheel back with the new tire mounted and balanced, you just roll that bad boy back in there and just do everything in reverse what you saw me do to put it all back together. Do yourself a favor, just put all your fasteners in a little bucket. This is a ½ gallon I cut in half with a utility razor blade, and you know, just put all your parts in a bucket like that. When you're doing a quick job like this, have them all together, makes life easy when you go back to put them back together, right? Simple stuff. Well, everybody, I hope you really enjoyed that video. Just a couple things I want to go over real quick before we finish this video for today. For the specifications to put all the bolts and fasteners back on, let's see if we can get the camera to focus on this. Okay, there are your specs right there, and if you can't see them, because I'm not sure if the camera's focusing on that or not, I'll read them off to you, okay? For the front axle pinch bolts, those are little bolts down at the bottom of the axle. Those are 17 pound-feet or 23 Newton meters. And for the front axle nut, that big nut, that's 74 pound-feet or 100 Newton meters. And for the front brake calipers, remember I took off the brake calipers, took them off, the two bolts will hold on a brake caliper, those are 29 pound-feet or 39 Newton meters, okay? If you need to pause the video and rewind it and look at the numbers or hear what I have to say, just go ahead and do that, you'll have your specs. Now for the little bolt that holds the front wheel sensor, I could not find a torque spec. I don't think there is one. Just put that little bolt back in there. I think it's an 8mm, and maybe just a drop of Loctite to be safe. You should be good to go. All right, guys, remember down at the bottom in the description of the video, I'll put a link to show you how to take the rear wheel off in another video I already did. Hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, just go ahead and click that Texas flag right there. For all the videos on this awesome motorcycle, just click on this link of the playlist above my head right here. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you right back here again real soon.